And now it's time for more than you ever wanted to know about this door design for Robby's Heartbox. And just looking at some pictures I took of Robby at the auction, just to show you some of the details I'm trying to capture here. So obviously the old door didn't close perfectly flush, that's fine. Notice there's a little bit of an edge that protrudes here a little bit. We have that here as well. Also this very small sort of rounded to the corners here of the opening. I've incorporated that as well. The piece up top with the notch, that's here as well. So that is the attempt here. I've added these little holders for the rubber bands like I showed previously. And so this is just about ready with a few small changes. One of my early attempts to get the Heartbox door right was when I was working on John Riggs' design and making some modifications to it, and I added the little triangle, the little cutout piece up front, and I did make a door that opened, but it was just a little flimsy piece of plastic that kind of sat in a grooved track here on the back. So in my redesign of the whole piece here, I wanted to address that issue. And I also got some inspiration from how Ian made the door hinge on his design. Let's start with version 1. And satisfying close sound, but it's too tight. Clearly I messed up with the tolerances a tiny little bit here. So it was okay, but a little too stiff. So on to version 2. Attempt number 2. So after some small modifications to make it a little bit looser, and it's working great. But there's one thing. See this little gap here on the bottom? What happened to my nice snug fit that I have? Well, when I put the rubber bands on the side here, notice right here, I didn't make this little peg come out far enough, so the rubber band is sometimes getting stuck in between that peg and the panel, so it can't close the whole way. So back to the drawing board again. I need to make this little pin come out a little bit further, and the rubber band's popping off, and maybe you want to use a spring or something too. So I need to take these little pegs and make them a little bit bigger, and again, move that top peg out a little bit, but the fit is definitely much better. Attempt number 3. So notice I made the peg a little bit bigger, but it's still not quite. I've still got a little gap there on the bottom because even though I made the peg bigger, I didn't move it far enough. It looked fine in CAD, but I didn't move it far enough back. And so now, again, that peg is hitting, the back here, and so we can't quite get the close again. I think I know everything that needs to be done now to fix it. So time for a timer. Time for a time lapse. Quick note on how I'm doing the time lapse here. This is a Neptune 4 Max. Does not have built-in support for a time lapse, although it does have support for a camera. And so you'll see what I've done is I've added a little sort of limit switch there and some custom G-code. Basically, I'm using this Logitech webcam. Every time it finishes a layer, the printhead, I've added the G-code for it to move over and just hit that limit switch, which actually then closes a contact on this Arduino Pro Micro, which can mimic a USB keyboard. So when that limit switch is hit, it sends a spacebar key press over the USB to this spare laptop I have here, which is just running the camera app. And so every time it hits the spacebar, it takes a picture. So a little short-term hack for now until I figure a better way to do time-lapse photos. So fourth fourth and final attempt. I printed this in black because this will probably be the piece that I use on the final, the final print. It's fitting great. Larger peg there. I didn't reprint this. This is just a test piece, but there's also a larger peg on the, on the final full design also. So I think it's working great. Fits nice and smooth. So I'm gonna call this test a success, and I'm gonna get ready to move on to a test print of the full Heartbox.